Hello and welcome to Jedi Eternal. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew Bullen, alongside the Is He 4 or Is He 40, the TikTok legend and professional rambler, the peanut butter to my jelly, and the second best Star Wars trivia player in Bloomington, Braxton Wayne Taylor, who is not here today. Yes, that's right, everyone. It is just me, all by my lonesome. Braxton is out in the wilderness camping, and normally we would go ahead and cancel for the week when one of us is busy and can't meet up to do this. However, there's a lot of news out there, and so we decided we're not going to call this the next episode. As you'll notice, there is no episode number next to our podcast today. But there's a lot of news out there, and we wanted to talk about that. So today, I'm just going to talk about the news and rumors that have came this past week. And then next week, next Saturday, it'll be me and Braxton again, and we'll do all of our other stuff. But today, we're just going to be talking about those news and rumors. And guys, there's some pretty big stuff out there right now. And so some that'll break your heart, some that'll get you excited. We got a little bit of both today. So let's just jump right into it. We're going to start with Taika Waititi here has said some new stuff about the new untitled Star Wars movie he's working on. It's just a small update, but it's still something. He was in an interview with BBC, and he said, "We're writing." Now, that may not sound like a lot, but it's still something. It's something in the works there with this untitled Star Wars movie. We're writing. And hey, if they're already writing, to me that means they already have an idea of what this is going to be, where they're headed with this. And that only means to me that we're closer to finally hearing what this movie is about. And I'm excited for that because I really want to know where these Star Wars movies are going next. So, again, that's small but exciting. Another little news story here we have is actually from the sculptor of Snoke. Okay, so this is the guy that sculpted Snoke, who basically designed him. And I don't know if any of you have heard the theory before, but some people have theorized that Grand Moff Tarkin was what they based Snoke off of, whether they used DNA from him to create Snoke, blah, blah, blah. There are some resemblances there. Well, the designer and sculptor, Ivan Manzella, has revealed that he based Snoke's appearance off of the late Peter Cushing. So that is very, very interesting. Again, this does not confirm anything as far as in canon is Snoke Tarkin. That does not confirm this whatsoever. However, the fact that they did use Peter Cushing as a design reference makes me wonder if Star Wars could ever go ahead and decide to use Tarkin as the way they created Snoke's appearance. So that's just another little interesting tidbit there that could have greater meaning later on as we continue to learn more and more about Snoke. Our next story is a big one, and this is a very sad one for me. As you guys know, we've been talking about the next 3 Star Wars movies that had release dates, and it was 22, 24, and 26. And so they were far out, but, they were in the near future. And so that was still something to look forward to. However, guys, it has changed. And we had talked about this potentially happening due to all of the events going on right now with the pandemic and everything. We knew there was a very good chance that there could be some delays in the Star Wars world. And Disney has announced via Variety that all planned Star Wars theatrical films will have their releases delayed by a year. So The 3 Lucasfilm movies now have the following release dates. Untitled Star Wars 1 is December 22nd, 2023. Untitled Star Wars 2 is December 19th, 2025. Untitled Star Wars 3, December 17th, 2027. Yeah, this is pretty depressing. Again, like I said, I expected it, and we know that also Avatar has been delayed, and so that's probably another big reason why, because we know that they're wanting to go Avatar 2, Star Wars, Avatar 3, Star Wars every December. And so since Avatar got delayed, that means Star Wars had to be delayed. And so it makes sense, but it doesn't make it any more fun for us. The longer wait, of course, will not be so great, but it gives them more time to work on it, and I think that's another plus here. It gives them more time to think about what they want this next Star Wars movie to be, and I think that what the Star Wars movie is has to be it's got to be a big hit. Whatever it is, it's got to be a win for them to solidify the future of Star Wars movies, because with the sequel trilogy, love 'em or hate 'em, we know that there has been a lot of controversy there, and they have not necessarily been as big of a hit as I think Disney was hoping for, especially with the last one. And so this delay could mean they have even more time to take into account and consider every little detail of what this movie needs to be to try to please as many people as possible. And no matter what, of course, there's going to be people that don't like it, people that are upset. But I, for one, I look forward to seeing what they come up with to be the next big Star Wars movie. So, going on from that, we have, I don't know, maybe some of you guys caught it. We talked about it last week, but there was Comic-Con at home, and there was a publishing panel there. Well, guys, this publishing panel actually revealed some new details. I don't know if you listened to the previous episode, you'll know that we kind of talked about how we were a little frustrated with publishing panels at Celebration because they didn't actually reveal any news. This one actually, however, did. And so we're going to just kind of go through that and talk about what they did reveal. The first one is the lightsaber collection. So this looks really cool. It says the lightsaber collection will give us a wide-ranging look at the evolution of the elegant weapon, boasting gorgeous, highly detailed illustrations of some of the most iconic and influential lightsabers throughout Star Wars, as well as new portraits of each lightsaber wielder. The newly announced book promises to be a coveted collection like no other. And I, for one, will absolutely be getting this book. If you know me, you know I love lightsabers, I love Jedi, and so this will be a great thing to add to my collection. So I don't believe they have set a release date yet for that. I could be wrong, but as far as what I'm looking at here, I don't see one. So let's just move on. The next thing we have is we're going back to Vader's Castle in the IDW series. There's been 2 series so far of Vader's Castle. It's a branch of Star Wars Adventures, for those of you who don't know. And they usually do this around Halloween. They kind of use it as like a Halloween type thing. And this one's called Shadows of Vader's Castle, and it's actually a 30-page one-shot. So this is not another series. It's just one issue, but it's 30 pages long, so it's a bigger issue. And I'm excited to read that. I've actually really enjoyed the other stories from Vader's Castle that we've gotten. They've actually been pretty entertaining and the best part of Star Wars Adventures that I've yet to see. So be ready to check that out in October. Then we also have a relaunch of Star Wars Adventures from IDW. It says the illustrated comic series for all ages is getting a reboot with stories in new time eras with new creators. So I'm not really sure exactly why this necessarily needs to be called a reboot, but they're calling it that. So, so anyways, there appears to be it looks like, from basing off of the cover here, which, in comics covers don't really mean a whole lot, but I see it looks like Rey, Finn, Poe, and then there's also one that shows like the Battle of Hoth. So again, kind of looks like maybe we're going to be getting stories from both eras potentially, but we'll just have to wait and see exactly how that turns out. Also, and this story here is really cool. I'm excited about this one. We're getting an exclusive in-world version of Star Wars Myths and Fables with 6 new stories by George Mann, which will be available later this year. The stories will appropriately be set back on Batuu and across the galaxy on Endor, Dathomir, and Mon Cala. Plus, each one comes with new artwork from illustrator Grant Griffin. Mann said, but even the author himself hasn't had a chance to snag a copy just yet. I can't wait to see it myself. He said it's going to look like an artifact from Batuu. So, this is really cool. For those of you who don't know Myths and Fables, we actually had a book already about Myths and Fables and from George Mann. It's a spectacular little book. It has some really great artwork. It has some really cool Jedi stories in there that I really loved. One that I believe is supposed to be a story about Obi-Wan Kenobi. And this, I'm a little confused on if this is an entirely separate book or if it's a book with new additions, because it's the same title, Star Wars Myth and Fables, with 6 new stories. So I don't know if that means it's going to be a larger book with the original stories and then 6 new ones, or if this is an entirely new book with the same title, but then looks like something in-world. And so as time goes on, I'm sure we will learn a little bit more on that, a little bit more about the details. But again, I think this could be really great. I'm excited for it. I'll be glad to add that to my collection for sure. So then there's also a new art book about the Art of Galaxy's Edge. For those of you who are interested in the art books, that'll be coming out later this year as well. And then we also, and this is really interesting, we heard a little bit more about the High Republic: A Test of Courage, which is the junior novel for the High Republic line, and it's coming from Justina Ireland. And interestingly enough, it has a connection to Sana Starros, and that connection is that one of the main characters of the book, Avon Starros, a 12-year-old girl sent to the edge of the galaxy by her politician mother because she's curious, experimental, and, well, just pure trouble, is the great ancestor of Sana Starros. So, for those of you who don't know who Sana Starros is, she is the kind of ex-wife of Han Solo. It's kind of a long story, but you can read about that in the main Star Wars comic line if you're ever interested in learning more about that character. But yeah, she apparently is a great ancestor of Sana Starros, and so I think connections like that in the High Republic are going to be super cool. Especially a character like that, which isn't like super huge, so it's not like a great ancestor of a Skywalker or something like that. That'd be a little more like what? This works really well, and I think that it's just cool to have that little connection. Then we also have to write a Jedi You Will Be, author. Oh my goodness, I don't know if I can say this. Preeti Chibber. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but that's what it looks like. This looks to be a very young reader's book. This would be a good one to get for your kids. It looks like it's going to be kind of about have you really think about what the Force means to little kids and how they engage with that kind of idea of the Force and that philosophical side of things. So that could be a cool one to pick up for you to read with your child. Then we have the new Darth Vader comics, of course, which is being written by Greg Pak. The first arc that we've had is great. I'm excited for that arc to finally start coming back. We only got like 2 issues of it before this pandemic kind of changed everything, and we hadn't gotten any more issues. I think we're finally getting another issue like in the next week or 2. So I'm really excited about seeing this first arc. I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to spoil things for those that have not got to read it, but really cool stuff there. So at this panel, they talked a little bit about what the second arc is going to do. And I thought it was very interesting because they're saying the next arc is going to include key elements to tie into the most recent films in the Skywalker saga, which dig into some great unexplored territory and also dig deeply into the heart of Vader. So this is very interesting because this series is taking place after The Empire Strikes Back. We know this first arc, I will say, kind of calls back to the prequels in some ways. So that's been very interesting. And now this next arc looks to be kind of tying into the sequels. And so how they're going to do that, I'm not sure, but I assume that maybe we will be seeing some connections again to Vader's castle and maybe some of that. But only time will tell. But I'm very excited about that. Greg Pak is doing a great job with the Darth Vader line. Then we also heard about, from a certain point of view, the anthology series for The Empire Strikes Back. We got a small little update there that Tom Engelberger, who wrote about the Wills in the one for A New Hope, is writing about them again in The Empire Strikes Back. And that was a very interesting story in A New Hope. So I'm sure we will again get a very interesting story for The Empire Strikes Back. So I cannot encourage you guys enough to pick up this book, The Empire Strikes Back, from a certain point of view. I haven't even read it yet, but I still encourage you to do it because if it's anything like the one for A New Hope, and if you haven't read that one, you should get that one too. They're so filled with great stories, but that really just make the movies even better. If you go back and watch the movie after reading through from a certain point of view of A New Hope, it really changes kind of your point of view on some things, and it's really great. And I have no doubt in my mind that this is also going to do some really great stuff. Then going on, they talked a little bit about the Clone Wars Stories of Light and Dark. Again, that's going to be a lot of episodes of Clone Wars just written into a novel format. And if you remember, me and Braxton weren't super big on that. We would have rather had news stories. So I'm not going to go too far into that, but just know that is coming fairly soon. And me and Braxton will be talking about that in August, as well as the next book they talked about, Poe Dameron Freefall, which comes out in August as well. We have review copies of both of these books, and we'll be bringing you guys reviews on those very soon, so be looking out for that. And we will get into what we think about those. And so this Poe Dameron Freefall is a prequel, and so yeah, be on the watch out for that. And then they talked about the Dr. Aphra comic. Nothing really new to say there, but they were just kind of encouraging people to get a hold of that. And here's the thing, guys. It seems like Dr. Aphra's not going anywhere anytime soon. If anything, she's becoming an even more important Star Wars character. They're bringing her to new formats, and it sounds like, eventually maybe even to live action. So definitely you might consider getting into the Dr. Aphra comic, which began it all. So, and then let's see here. Thrawn Ascendancy did a little update on that, and basically Timothy Zahn was saying that this book, he's already got the brain of Thrawn. He knows, he lives and breathes Thrawn. He's got his mental patterns, his tactical ideas established. He's got all of that. So now it's just about putting him in new situations. And this September, that means building the Chiss culture. So we're going to be looking at exploring how the Chiss families work, how the military works, their relationships with others in the area, and we're just going to be really establishing kind of like how the Chiss work. I think that's what this is, even more so than about necessarily being about Thrawn. This is about just the Chiss and Thrawn's background and everything is very unknown to us. We don't really understand a whole lot about how they work. And I think that this prequel series, more than anything, is to establish more just how the Chiss work, how their military works, how families, all that stuff work and work together. And so that'll be interesting, especially if you're just into building up the lore of not just the Skywalker saga, but kind of expanding the entire universe as a whole. This is a way of doing that, and I think it could be very interesting, but also it could be very boring. And so it's going to be one or the other, and it's just going to be we'll just have to wait and see. I could see this being very, very good, but part of me is also like, I don't know, this could end up being pretty boring. So we'll just have to see, guys. I have to say, this is a lot harder when I'm by myself. Let's go into rumors. So that was our news stories that we had for today. Let's go into the rumors here. So Making Star Wars, they finally came back and said something. It had been a while since we heard from Jason Ward, but he is back. He wrote an article about some stuff he has heard about, and so let's just touch on that a little bit here. He said he has a small update about Star Wars television moving forward at Pinewood Studios. There's a lot of rumors flying around, and my take is, if it hasn't filmed yet, maybe that's right. I'd rather talk about what I'm hearing that seems grounded. So he's talking about, he said that a schedule is set for the next 2 productions in the live-action Star Wars Disney Plus productions. And what those appear to be is the Cassian Andor Rogue One prequel series and the Kenobi series. And what he's saying is the Rogue One prequel and Kenobi sequel productions are set for Pinewood. I think the Kenobi series has some creative and sensitive differences still being worked out. So we've heard before, of some changes with the Kenobi story, changes with what their plans are for that, and it sounds like maybe that's still the case. Maybe they're still trying to figure it out. And again, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to try to figure out that story, make it just right. And so, take all the time you need, guys. We don't want them in a hurry for this. We need them to make the best Kenobi series that they can. As for the Cassian Andor Rogue One prequel, whatever you want to call it, I'm ready to hear more about what this is. I mean, they've been talking about this one forever. I mean, it seems like it's been a really long time. And I know at Celebration, when me and Braxton were there, they talked about it there too, and we'd already been hearing about it for a while before that, and we still don't really have anything solid. And part of me still wonders if this is ever going to actually come out. I mean, I hope it does, and it sounds like they're starting to kind of get the ball rolling here, but let's hear a little more about it. Let's at least get a title, something. So we'll see where that goes. And then as for Kenobi, it's still going to be a while. Now, I've heard also other rumors that maybe Kenobi is going to start in March of 2021, start production officially. And so that being said, don't be looking for Kenobi in 2021. We'll definitely get Kenobi in 2022 at this point, and that's if they start in March of 2021, I would assume. I really doubt we get Kenobi in 2021. If so, it's going to be late 2021. But again, I expect it in 2022. It's going to be a long wait, but I hope it's well worth it. So, continuing on the talking about Kenobi, we also have the Clone Wars flashbacks we've talked a little bit about before. Guys, Kessel Run Transmissions has just been like, I don't know if they have a guy on the inside or what, but clearly they have someone, because they're the ones that have been saying all these rumors. We've gotten a lot of news from these guys that has came true, including one of the big ones they pushed was the Bad Batch. And I know a lot of people kind of laughed at them, but hey, it's here. They've actually officially announced it, and we're getting it. So yeah, the Bad Batch is real. And so they have said now that last year when the Kenobi series was officially announced, my source told me 2 things. One, that Ahsoka was going to be cast in The Mandalorian, and that Clone Wars flashbacks were going to be featured in Kenobi. So, me and Braxton have talked about it before. We are all for having Clone Wars flashbacks. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. I think that would be so cool. But what we have to also pay attention to in this statement is that he says last year when the Kenobi series was officially announced. And we have to also take into consideration the other things we've been hearing about Kenobi, which is that Kenobi story has changed since the official announcement. And so if we take that into account, that potentially means that Kenobi is no longer that story. And so that could mean that the Clone Wars flashbacks are no longer a part of whatever they have for Kenobi now. Now, all of that, of course, is up in the air, and they maybe even if they changed some story elements, they'll still have Clone Wars flashbacks, but I think that Clone Wars flashbacks would be absolutely amazing. I am all for it. I hope that it is in their plans, and I just think it would be so cool to see them, and maybe even in the Clone Wars outfits, seeing the Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen together again. And just kind of merging the prequels and the Clone Wars show together into that could just be so amazing. It would blow my mind, as I think it would blow many of your minds. So we just got to hope that that's still going to happen. So then we also have another rumor here, and this is also from Kessel Run Transmissions. These guys are killing it. They're saying that Donald Glover, who played the younger version of Lando Calrissian in the film Solo, will reportedly return to play the character again in a future Disney Plus series. I've expected this. I've expected this since I watched the movie Solo, and the fact that everyone talked about how great Donald Glover was in the movie, more so than I think anything else that was praised in the movie. Donald Glover's performance was praised, and he plays a great Lando. So I always expected we would get more of him somewhere, some way, somehow. The question is, how do we get him? Some people have immediately assumed this means it's going to be a Lando series for Disney Plus. I've seen a lot of people posting it as that new Lando series. I don't know if Lando's getting his own series, and this doesn't really necessarily say. This just says that he's going to return to play the character again in a future Disney Plus series. So he could just be a side character. He could make a quick appearance. We don't know. However, I think bringing Donald Glover back as a young Lando absolutely is a good call. So, and then on top of that, they updated, and they said they've also heard that a concept for a Disney Plus series about Janna and Lando post Rise of Skywalker is an idea that is floating around Lucasfilm. Which, the end of Rise of Skywalker kind of hinted at seeing their adventures together. At least that's the way I took it when I finished watching it. I remember turning to, probably Braxton and saying, did they just, kind of hint at making a series about that? I mean, that's just how I took it. It felt like that. It also kind of felt like they were implying that she was Lando's daughter. And so I think there's some interesting stories they could tell there. That would be, of course, the farthest thing in the timeline we have ever had. If that is to come true, it would be because, that would take place after Rise of Skywalker. And we also know that they've kind of talked about maybe trying to stay away from the sequel trilogy era, maybe trying to stay away from those elements. So this is kind of counteracting that. So it's just I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I think what could be cool is you could potentially have this series with Billy D. Williams as Lando, and have maybe some flashbacks of Donald Glover as a young Lando, and use those in the same show. That way you kind of get both. I think that would be fantastic, and maybe show some of Lando's younger adventures that have now impacted maybe events that have happened in after the sequel trilogy era. And so That's just an idea, and we'll just have to wait and see where they go with it, but I think that could be really cool. So, going into our final rumor for the day is that Darth Maul will appear in multiple Star Wars Disney Plus shows. So, that's a pretty big one. I have a lot of thoughts about this. They're saying that among these series, Lucasfilm is developing a live-action show that will be focused on the antagonist. In addition, Kira is expected to feature prominently in the series, played once again by Emilia Clarke. And as you guys have probably heard me and Braxton say before, we want that show. We want a show with Darth Maul and Kira. We want to see where that goes. It'd probably be about Crimson Dawn, just kind of seeing that. We have said since Solo came out, that's the story we want. We don't really need more Solo, but we would love to have a Darth Maul and Kira show. They're saying here that it appears he's going to be in multiple shows, and so one of the shows that it kind of you would think would make sense is Kenobi, but we also know kind of the outcome of Kenobi and Maul meeting again, so I don't really know that it lines up. And so he could, I guess, be in Cassian, maybe involved in crime syndicate storyline or something that Cassian's investigating, or however you want to put it. I don't really know exactly what their plans would be, but I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is that if all these rumors are true, and the chances are some of them are probably wrong, but let's just say every rumor about Disney Plus shows are true, that's a ton of shows. I mean, an absolutely huge amount of shows, an overwhelming amount of Disney Plus Star Wars shows. I mean, I don't even know that I can name all of them at once, but maybe I'll try. We got Kenobi. We got Cassian. We have, let's go ahead and just put in Mandalorian Season 3 in production, or at least in early production. We have, I shouldn't have even started this because now I'm not going to even be able to think of all of them. We have potentially an Ahsoka one that they've talked about. Now they have this Maul one. They have something with Lando. They got, I'm not going to even go on. I've proven my point enough. There's a bunch of rumors out there, and Bad Batch, potentially a Rebels sequel. So, I mean, just an insane amount. And I think it goes to show Disney Plus is the future of Star Wars right now. They're putting everything into Disney Plus, and I'm okay with that. I really don't have any problem with that. And we know, we're still getting Star Wars movies, and it's going to be interesting to see what they feel like should be in a movie theater in comparison to what they feel like should be in your home on Disney Plus. And I think that'll be an interesting to see what the difference is. Because there was also a rumor saying that the next Star Wars movies are going to be more intimate, are going to not cost as much, which is completely counteracts what me and Braxton were talking about, I believe it was last week, when we talked about how, they're going to save the big stuff for the films. If that rumor is true, it sounds like they're actually going to kind of lower costs, make things a little more intimate, maybe less bombastic. So I don't know. I wish I had somebody to get their opinion on this right now, because it's just a very interesting how many shows we have, and I just don't know where they're going with all of it. We've heard about the connected storyline, the connected universe, where all these different Disney Plus shows are going to intertwine and connect and be this big, kind of leading up to something. But some of these don't really fit into that. And so it's almost like they're going to have these series that are all interconnecting and intertwining, and then we're also going to have some that are kind of just their own little thing. And who's to say we may not eventually get a Star Wars movie on Disney Plus as well? That's also something to consider. And maybe one of these things, one of these rumored shows, maybe is a movie that's going to be on Disney Plus. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what their plans are going to be. But guys, I am, again, as always, excited for the future of Star Wars. Excited for what Star Wars is going to do next. You know, we're still in such a big moment of kind of just waiting to just see where they go next with things. And, you know, yeah, we've gotten some announcements. We know Mandalorian's coming. We know the Bad Batch is coming. We know the High Republic is coming. We know these things, but it still feels like we're on the verge of something huge. Like we're just waiting for the big moment. And I don't really know exactly what it's going to be, where it's going to come from, but I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm waiting. And you can guarantee anytime we hear anything, we're going to be on here talking about it to you guys. And of course, as always, we want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear what you guys have to say. Again, I apologize that we had to do it this way today, that you just had to listen to me ramble for like 37 minutes. I apologize for that, but next week we'll be back to normal. We'll take your Q&As, and we'll talk about some releases, and we'll have a big main topic for you guys next week. But today we're just talking about those news and rumors. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something about it today. I hope that you guys are as excited about Star Wars as I am. But until next time, may the Force be with you, and we thank you for joining the Jedi Eternal.